He is professor of atmospheric sciences and the director of the Cooperative Institute for Marine and Atmospheric Studies. He also serves as the program director for climate and the environmental hazards at the Center of Computational Science. He is a co-chair of the NOAA Climate Prediction Task Force and is a coordinating lead author of the most recent IPCC report. Dr. Kirtman receives his BS in Atmospheric and Applied Mathematics from the University of California, San Diego, and his master's and PhD from the University of Maryland, College Park. Kirtman has published over 100 peer-reviewed papers focused on the understanding of variability of the climate system on timescales from days to decades. So,
I have this tremendous sense of inadequacy, primarily because I don't have animals either. So I don't. So I also took a different approach to this. And when Sam and Sammy approached me, my interpretation of what they said, and I think it might be right, is that there's some angst out there. There's some concern that we're worried about our future as scientists, as researchers. We don't know. Do we feel comfortable about funding? The current political environment seems to be challenging in terms of the future, the near-term future. And so I actually want to use a recent bill that was signed by that guy. My wife and I agreed we don't say his name in our home. At any rate, that guy signed a bill. And this is a great bill. Honestly, this is a fabulous bill. And so I just want to talk, I'm using that bill as sort of the building block of what I want to talk about today. This bill has such great things in it. It talks about improving weather forecasts. It talks about improving the week 3-4 hazards forecast. It talks about improving El Nino forecast. And it has great stuff that the Department of Commerce and NOAA should do to improve all these forecast products. And I want to talk a little bit about my experience in actually the early days of that bill and then the final days of that bill and the implications of that and some of the research that we do here that actually is executing what's in that bill. So it's an optimistic topic. So this was signed into law sometime in April. It's a law. It's the law of the land. And it's the goal is to foundationally improve our forecasts from basically on timescales of 3 weeks out to 2 years. And so this is just pulling a particular set of sentences that speak to me in this particular bill, but it's got lots of really, really good things in this bill. It's spectacular. I want to chat a little bit about this. First, in developing the bill, a number of scientists around the world, I'm sure, were contacted. I was contacted, even. And I spent about 2.5 hours on the phone with Senate staffers talking about what should be in the bill. So that's my first point, my first marker. In the research we do matters. And it matters because they come to us and ask us for our advice because we've done all this research. We know what the outstanding problems are. We have an idea of how to make things better. So they come to us and ask us what should be in this bill. And then 2.5 years later, that bill gets signed into law by what's his name. And so I want to show you some examples from Public Law 11525. That's this fantastic bill that I want, the Weather Research and Forecast Innovation Act of 2017. And then once it was signed, that's the good news, right? And once it was signed into law, then the president developed his first budget prescription. Okay? He removed almost all the funding for everything in that bill. Almost everything. Almost. A few little bucks here and there. But almost everything was removed. And so then I want to talk a little bit about our entire community's effort to push back on that, to educate our congressional delegations of just how important this research is, just how important it is for saving lives, protecting the environment, ensuring economic opportunity, all those wonderful things, and we succeeded. So this may feel like dark times in terms of how the world is viewing, or how our country is viewing research and the importance of funding research. But there are successes, and there are things we can do, and we will outlast this current difficulty. Okay. So the first project I want to talk about, this is originally it was called the U.S. National Multimodal Ensemble. It's now called the North American Ensemble. To our Canadian friends, they joined the team at no cost. That's very generous of them. But this is a project to make improved NOAA predictions of climate a few seasons in advance. And we started this work way back in 2009, and in 2015, this became an official NOAA operational product. And it is part of the underpinning of that bill. The science that's come out of this huge collaborative effort that involves national labs all around the country, academic institutions, the number of PIs involved is really quite large. It has demonstrably improved our seasonal forecast, our ability to forecast El Nino. Now, of course, we blew it, the most recent one, but sometimes forecast plus. That's okay. I just want to show you that what Amy was talking about in terms of the hurricane forecast, this is just showing you various models and how we make a statistical seasonal forecast of hurricanes, and just showing you that this final product, this NMME thing, has a better correlation than RMS error. And in fact, the official forecast, this is the primary input to NOAA's official hurricane forecast. This is what they use to decide in both May and August to make that forecast that it was likely to be an active season. So our research matters. And in fact, this is the forecast for this winter. This is a rainfall forecast. These forecasts are always made in a probability space. So hold our feet to the fire. We're expecting it to be a dry winter. I can't wait till you guys get back after winter break and tell me that the forecast plus. A little dry in California too. This is a picture from Harvey. And there's another project that we're also involved again that actually came as it was during the Obama administration that the push came for this. This weather bill actually was started during the Obama administration 2.5 years ago. But this need to actually make a forecast 3 or 4 weeks from now, that there's hazards out there that are near term that people are really worried about. Is there an increased chance of storms like Harvey happening? Is, during the hurricane season, is there going to be a period of time where it's really much more active than another period of time? So what's happening within the season? This, in the world of predictions, is kind of the valley of death. It's one of the hardest problems. But again, we said it was one of the hardest problems when they were developing the bill, but we knew what we had to do to get started. We knew what we had to do to improve. We had to start trying to do this. And so we're funded to do this. So the University of Miami is leading this effort to improve the week 3-4 hazards forecast for NOAA. That's an effort that's led here out of the University of Miami. And I told Deanna Udell about this effort, and so she asked me, can you get a picture? Did you guys forecast that there could have been a chance of a Harvey-like storm? Could you have done that? And some squeezing and stuff, and we made a rainfall. We pulled a picture together of the rainfall over the U.S. This is the week that Harvey hit Texas, hit Houston. And you can see, I'm sure it's luck. Better lucky than good, my brother-in-law always tells me. But nevertheless, we think we can do this. We're going to try to do this better. So here's your forecast for the 3 to 4 week period from today, ending December 1st. And this tool says it's going to be a little bit drier here. So I just want to end on a few simple thoughts. The first one is I spend a lot of my own time trying to educate people about climate change issues. And that's good for me. That's something that works for me. And sometimes I get involved in a little bit in the advocacy realm. And that works for me, but it may not work for you. But I do think we all have a responsibility, a paramount responsibility, to make sure we educate everybody about the importance of our research. And that's not, I'm not saying you have to go lobby Congress. I have spent quite a bit of time trying to educate our congressional delegation about the important issues of forecasting the important issues of sea level rise and those kinds of things. That's what I like to do. But you need to find what you want to do to make sure that everybody understands how important our research is. So we all have a responsibility, an outreach responsibility to make sure our citizens, our society is literate, despite Kenny's rather depressing curve. The second thing, and my wife gave me a hard time about this comment, but she said, boy, that sounds awfully trite. But it's something I really actually, it's kind of why I got into this field after all. I mean, I was originally trained as a mathematician, and I was more than happy to just sit around pushing, theoretical partial differential equations around to see if I could find an answer, a little bit like Will. Ultimately, what we're doing here is to save lives, protect the environment, make sure people have economic opportunities, protect our national security, however you want to define that. That's what we do. Of course our research matters. Of course it matters. And so I was really touched by the question that Sam and Sammy were asking about, this angst. And I respect that. I respect that concern. Obviously, I'm very sensitive to that. But on the other hand, if we take a long view, if we recognize that it takes two and a half years for a bill to be written and then be signed into law and then defunded and then refunded, right? That takes 2.5, 3 years, that process. Just remember, you're still doing your PhD. So you can outlast this problem. I guarantee you'll outlast this problem. I remember when I was a postdoc that I was convinced the wheels were coming off the bus of research, and I was wondering if I should go to law school. So I was ready to give up. You really need to take a long view. The work we do is so immature. The science is so immature. The research is so immature that students and postdocs can do such fundamental work that the field pays attention to it, that you can affect the trajectory of our science. In my father's field, he's a theoretical physical chemist. Nobody pays attention to what graduate students do. Nobody pays attention to what the postdocs do. Nobody pays attention until they've been in the field for 25 years. But in our field, it's so immature. There's so many great foundational, profound problems for people to solve that really do matter for society. So yes, the research that we do at RSMAS really matters. Thank you.